But you've played man of history many times. We have a photograph of you that may surprise you. Do you have that ready? Good, throw that up on the screen. And that's you as Napoleon. Or else it's Napoleon.
No, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
That's your stage costume from, probably.
I played Napoleon in the Walnut Street Theater in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I'd always wanted to have an automobile. This had nothing to do with being Napoleon.
No.
I had had a number of third-rate automobiles.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted a new car. And now that I was doing Alsace years, I had enough money to buy a Studebaker.
Studebaker.
And, the salesman who sold it to me, he was French, and he pronounced it Studebaker. And I thought this was a pretty classy car, Studebaker. It was made in Indiana or something. It had nothing to do with France at all. At any rate, I bought a new car. I was now in the money. And I paid $1,000 for the Studebaker. Now, I was doing the scene of Napoleon, which would be the next scene after intermission. The fellow drives up with a new car, which I'd never had. And he says, "Why don't you take a ride in the car?" I said, "I can't, because I have to do the Napoleon scene in 5 minutes." It was right after intermission. He said, "Take a ride, just a little ride. Go around the block once." And I was so eager to have a new car. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with Philadelphia. I imagine there are some people out front that are familiar with it, because the streets are very narrow, because it's a colonial city. It's where the Liberty Bell is and a number of other things. The streets are very narrow, and there were streetcars in those days. And on each side of the streetcar, there would be enough room for one automobile. So I got in the car, dressed as Napoleon. I had on boots and no socks, because the boots were so heavy, I couldn't get them on. So anyway, I got in the car, and I started to drive on the street. And I look ahead, and I see streetcars. There must have been 300 streetcars lined up. Some car in front, the streetcar, had broken down. Now I look them back at me, and I know I have to go on the stage in a few minutes, and I see 800 cars or something on this side.
Yeah.
And there's no room to get over on this street. Now I'm sitting in the car, the engine is running, dressed as Napoleon, and I turn the ignition off, and I get out and I start running. Running to the Walnut Street Theater, where I was to appear in 3 minutes as Napoleon. And as I'm running, a cop sees me, and he starts chasing me. And one boot flew off, and I'm now running on my bare feet and one... Well, there's nothing more to it, except 2 days later they gave me the car back. The police had taken the car, taken it down to some place where they take Studebakers. And it's not much of a story, but it's a true story.
Somewhere there's a man who sobered up when he saw a policeman chasing Napoleon down the streets of Philadelphia. Disguised as Groucho Marx.
That same day, the following day, Harding had just died. And at the finish of
President
the Napoleon
Harding?
scene, the president, yes.
Yeah.
He was a crook anyhow, you know. You know that. He was mixed up in the oil scandal.
Teapot Dome.
Teapot
Oh, yeah,
Dome,
that's right.
Thanks for the information.
Okay. You're welcome. Harding had died.
Harding had died, and they asked me if I would make a speech. Well, I've never spoken about a president or anything serious. And the Walnut Street Theater was 100 years old, and it has a tin roof.
Yeah.
And it was raining. And I'm out there dressed as Napoleon, talking about President Harding.
Oh.
And the Teapot Dome.
I wish there were a transcript of it somewhere. Did anybody write it down or take notes on it?
No, I don't know, but I got a lot of laughs talking about Harding, because the whole audience was crying. All the women in the audience were crying, and the rain coming from the roof. It was a very weird speech. And I didn't know what I was taking, and I didn't know him, except that I disliked him.
You disliked him, or you
I
liked?
disliked him.
Oh, you disliked him, and you had to give a speech saying that,
Praising
that he
him.
was wonderful?
Yes,
I
and what a
can't
wonderful
believe that
man
would
he
have been
was.
something, yeah.
And he was robbing the United States government of their oil. This
He
is
doesn't
true.
have any relatives living this, because
We'll know
Okay.
sometime tomorrow, I have a feeling. We're going to have a few minutes here. Groucho, what's the worst film you ever did?
Most of them, I would say.
No, now you know that when your movies play at the various places around the country,
I would
that
say the
you
best
can't
picture
get
we-
into them. There are people just line up for blocks, and they're hotter than they've ever been now. And
It's a strange thing, and this is true. When we made these pictures, we didn't get any fan mail, an occasional letter or somebody.
yeah,
But now, it's 35 years since the pictures, we get over 100 letters a week, fan mail.
yeah,
The kids are crazy about these pictures,
I know.
and
Yeah.
it's most
who owns them
extraordinary.
now, Groucho? Do you, the boys, I'm sure,
We own pieces of some of them.
You do?
We don't own all of them. We weren't that bright.
that's right, nobody, when you try to save film, even today, the stars never saved anything or owned anything that they had. The only one was Mary Pickford, and I think Charlie Chaplin owns all of his, right?
Oh yes, he was very
But
shrewd
I
about
was
that.
hoping maybe that you boys had produced yours and owned them.
The nicest compliment I've had was Chaplin. I met him in the Brown Derby one day many years ago. He said, "I wish I could talk on the screen the way you do." I said, "I wouldn't worry about it. You're doing all that." He had $50 million by that time. Now his pictures are coming back, and they should, because
Oh, he's
he was the greatest comedian. There's no doubt about it.
And probably the richest,
Richest,
I would
too,
say. They
yes.
say he actually has gold bricks in the cellar in
But when
Switzerland.
he left here, he wasn't allowed to take anything.
That's right.
So
But he
he
had
made
seen
it,
to the rights of his films, which supported him.
He saved his film, but he didn't sell them for many, many years. So he was lucky to have overcome it.
Didn't you all marry late in life? All the brothers married relatively late. I mean, I believe Harpo was in his 40s.
Harpo was around 37 when he got married.
Yeah.
He had seen what happened to me in my marriages and decided to stay single as long as possible.
What is the right age to marry?
The first time I got married was the right age, 30.
Yeah.
Are you proposing?
No, I was merely looking for advice, or at least to many people who may be considering marriage. I was wondering, you being somewhat of an expert and the author of Memoirs of a Mangy Lover, might want to...
I think it's much smarter to get a nice girl and live with her and don't get married.
Do you?
Yes, I think so. Because I don't know,
Smarter for who? Smarter for the man or the woman?
I'll tell you what I think.
Don't tell me.
I think a woman,
Yes?
after she's married a few years, frequently she loses her charm and the husband starts chasing, looking either for a younger girl or one that he's bored with. It's amazing to me that any couple can remain married all their life. There are so many reasons why they shouldn't be.
Well, I don't think it's
They
just
can
women,
be
though.
bored.
I think
Well,
that the men
women
can
get
become
bored,
boring,
too. But,
I think it takes a great deal of hard work to make a marriage work, but I don't think that it's necessarily the man or the woman, it's the couple that make it happen. And I agree with you that you have to work hard at staying interesting and not becoming a kvetch, which means a needle, all the time. Because to have a brittle tongue is to be the most unenjoyable companion. If everybody can just remain companionable.
no, but I'm very funny.
We were talking about you. We were saying in general, in general.
No, I'm talking about me. I'm not interested in generals.
Might be a good switch.
I have to leap right in here. We have a message from our local
You
stations.
mean I can't talk?
Oh, well, you can talk, but I have to leave in.